Okay, g'day guys. So today we are talking about the hammer grip or neutral grip unilateral lat pull down. My God, that's a mouthful. Right, so first of all, let's talk about hand grips and exactly what is a neutral or hammer grip style. The hammer grip or neutral style is like this. So it's pretty much any rowing movements you do, or if you're doing a chin up like so, it's having your hands like this. Now we have two other types of grips. That we have a supinated position where our hands go up and under the bar, and we also have pronated, which is hands over the top. So a good example of a supinated grip is potentially when you're doing a bicep curl, you're curling like this. Pronated is a really good example when you do a lat pull down, the traditional sense where you come to your chest like so, and then in this particular instance we're going to be using a neutral grip where our hands are neither supinated nor are they pronated, they're like this. Right, so first things first, let's talk about our lat pull down and how we can set up our lower half to over exaggerate and make better our upper portion when we execute the lift. So when we go through this when most people set up this exercise, they tend to sit like this, right? There's nothing wrong with this position. However, what we can do is we can over exaggerate thoracic extension by simply changing the position of our feet, and this will then allow greater activation through our lats and put potentially us at a much more advantageous position to stimulate and grow muscle. So what do we want to do? Well, we actually want to place our feet underneath our backside because our feet all the way up into probably our upper back, it's all one big chain. This is called our posterior chain. And so what we want to do is that by placing this under our feet, it starts to get us to move into a thoracic extension position, which is essentially how we want to execute this lift when we do it. So first point of call, we're going to lower this knee protector, guard, pad, whatever, so that we're underneath our feet. If you want to show off some leg, you can. Otherwise, you can pull your shorts down. We're going to place our toes underneath our backside. Shoulder blades are going to be pulled back and down, and this is the position that we want to start in. Right. Next, what we need to know is that whenever we execute a lift, we need to follow an acronym, and that acronym is called STEP. First point is stabilization, second point is tension, third point is execution. Why? And then our last one for P is performance, but we'll track that later. I'm actually going to lower that one down lower. Okay, now just one more thing whilst I'm doing my feet. What we can do too, as a result of being in this position, is we can create what we call leg drive, and that's simply by pushing our heels down and driving through our legs. So when those heavier sets and reps kick in, we actually have potentially a little bit more oomph to get those last few reps out. Now, back to our acronym: STEP, tension, execution, and then performance. What we want to do with stabilization of our working joint is that we know that the working joint in this particular exercise is our scapula, right? And we are trying to target our lats, which sit in just here, originate down nice and low, and come up and into the front of our arm, right? So how do we stabilize our scapula and activate our lats at the same time? Well, fortunately enough, they tend to work hand in hand. So by pulling your shoulder blades back and down into your back pockets, what you're going to do is send your body into this thoracic extension, or a good way to think about it is that if you run up and chest bump someone, you're going into thoracic extension. You're pushing this forward, okay? So when we do this exercise, we want to be in this position, shoulder blades back and down, and then reaching up nice and tall. Now, what we know about the lats is that the lats are a really big muscle, really big stabilizing muscle, and also have a large, what they call range of motion, and that's the ability to go, or the range of motion, for example, the bicep is all the way up here and then all the way down there. Now for the lats, it goes all the way up to the sky like this, and actually slightly past or the midline of our body, all right? So this plays particular importance in this exercise because we can get down just behind. So we're looking to take these elbows down and back behind our body and get that full contraction through the lats. It's those last few percentage or last little bits that really add up over a prolonged period of time. So we want to make sure that we're hitting this each and every time, that tension is through that muscle. But what you'll notice is that we can't go through that full range of motion if our shoulder blades are back and down, right? So you can try this at home right now. Pull your shoulder blades back and down, reach for the sky. You can't do it. So there's a skill set here that we need to identify, and that skill set is the ability to keep tension on the working muscle whilst going through that full range of motion. Now, how do we do that? Well, what I would suggest if you're learning this skill set from the start is actually start with, say, 4 or 5 reps first, and then move into allowing your arm to come up and back down. Allowing your arm to come up doesn't mean for it to go lax and feel as if you're pulling out of your shoulder joint. What you need to do is make sure that we have that connection with our lats, that we're reaching but keeping the tension through the lats and coming back down. So we'll go through it. We're going to firstly start with our feet underneath our backside. Show off some leg if you want to, otherwise don't. Push the heels down, wedge yourself right in. Okay, we're nice and stable through our hips. From here, we're going to reach up in the neutral position. So this would be at the front here. Obviously, some unilateral lat pull downs won't have this. You could go a supinated grip, or well, I wouldn't suggest, pronated grip out the wide here. But for today, we're doing the neutral grip. So we're going to grab a hold and we're going to pull our shoulder blades back and down. We're nice and tight and stable. From here, we're going to pull our elbows down to just past our midline of our body. I like to think about my pinkies pulling down. I don't know why, that tends to work for me. Some people like to think of the idea of pulling from the elbow. Again, it's a personal preference, but I'm a pinkies man. So I grip nice and tight through my pinkies, shoulder blades are back and down, nice and tight, and I'm pulling down here. Now, what I'm not going to do is go all the way up to begin with. I'm going to keep in this position and start to activate those lats and feel those lats come alive. Now, once I've got them into a really good feeling and bunching up right at the bottom there, I'm going to add in that little stretch, take it into the full range of motion, back down, but I'm not letting that tension go. Another way to try and keep that tension on is to go slow on the way up. It doesn't need to be super slow, like you see some people go, ooh, or this. Even a 2-second count can be enough. So you come down, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, I know it looks as if I'm swaying, so I'm swinging back and forth like this, okay? But what's actually happening is that in this position, I'm creating retraction. So I'm pushing my chest up and forward as if I'm meeting my hands with my chest. A lot of pitfalls people fall into is that they start to leverage off this lower back portion. So you see them, especially when the weight's too heavy. And don't get me wrong, I've been one of these people. Pull the shoulder blades back and down. They start to rock back, pull back, rock all the way back, and pull up, and create momentum to move the weight. We want to avoid this pitfall because if we start using momentum, you're going to lose tension through those working muscles, which is going to potentially lose you some gains. And that accumulation of those percentages over a long period of time is going to diminish. So we want to execute the basics really well, which is why we want to execute the acronym STEP. Stabilize the shoulder blades, tension through the working muscle or through the lats in this particular case. Execute the lift, same. Your first execution should look very similar to your last execution, or your first rep should look very similar to your last rep. Making sure that obviously when fatigue kicks in that we're still grinding, pausing up, grind, pause up, okay? And then we can track our performance. And if you're killing 10s or 12s, then go up to 12s or 15s. All right, so that there, team, is how you want to go about doing a neutral grip unilateral lat pull down.